there's a major disconnect right now between reality and fantasy when it comes to Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and blockchain technology. So I'm a fan of blockchain technology. I think there are major applications within the financial sector and outside the financial sector. And I think that as it evolves and becomes even more efficient than it appears to be right now, that will really take hold. That has nothing to do with cryptocurrencies, though. This current crop of cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and its babies, there's Ethereum and Bitcoin Cash and this one and that one, right? Litecoin,
it's like
Schmitecoin,
right?
Wolfcoin.
Yeah.
I should make Wolfcoin, right?
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? I think they all have zero value. I think they're going to zero. And I think that I think it's massive fraud involved in it. And I think as we're seeing now, it's coming out, this, with this, Tether, which is essentially like the industry, like it's their dollar. So you're supposed to, like, you use Tether to, like, when you park your money, it's in Tether. Well, they are finding out now that there's probably not, listen, I would say, I know there's not, but you can't, until they come out with the numbers. But I strongly suspect that there's a massive fraud that was instigated there. And it's not just a matter of saying, okay, well, if there's not as much Tether, we have to subtract out $3,000 from Bitcoin. It's not that. It's much worse than that, because what you'll see is that they used Tether to artificially support the market of Bitcoin, thereby dragging in more suckers into the game. It's maintaining the illusion of prosperity, not allowing something to go down that should be going down. And by keeping it up, they bring more people into the game, and that's why they were using Tether. So when Bitcoin should have been crashing, that had going to 16,000. That's so when that comes out, I believe the regulators are going to move incredibly swiftly and you see it happening right now. The first step is that there's been a sort of an industry-wide coordination of all the banks around the world to de-link their system from Bitcoin.
Right.
That's like step one, isolate the virus. That's what they're doing. And the step two is going to be crush it. And that's my problem with Bitcoin, is I don't think Bitcoin itself is a fraud. I don't. It's what people do to Bitcoin that's a fraud.
Okay.
So I don't think Bitcoin's a fraud. It never was a fraud. It just attracts people, and it lends itself to being manipulated. It lends itself to getting involved in situations that it's being used for money laundering. But right now, what's happened, which is sad, is that unfortunately the millennials, who I love, they're my people, but they hate me right now because I'm telling them the truth. They don't want to hear it. I've got hate mail from a lot of them, by the way. Many people that because I came out and said it was at 15,000 sell, and I was right. And I saved these kids, if they would have listened, half their money, right? They hate me for it. They're like, you caused it to go down. This is going to eliminate all the banks from the world. This is the future. I mean, so it's like a religious experience for them. So there's no rhyme or reason. And if you look at a Goldman Sachs, probably the smartest people in the world when it comes to stuff, what do they say today? They say they're all going to zero.
Exactly.
I mean, you look at Warren Buffett, the smartest investor of all time. What does he say? Worthless. Yeah. Paul Icke, ridiculous. I mean, anyone who knows anything about investing, you look at this stuff, it's insane. Mm-hmm. And it's riddled with fraud. I mean, you're hearing things like, there's a $542 million hack. I mean, and people are like, oh yeah, the last time I heard of a hack, it's like Die Hard 1 with Bruce Willis. They stole $650 million from like Nakatomi Plaza. What is this? Like, what is it when someone can steal that much money from the exchange? There's no security involved in it. It's bananas. And the other part is this lack of scarcity. And listen, I'd be singing a very different tune if Satoshi, whoever that means, whatever that means, would have patented blockchain technology. Then it would be different. But he didn't, okay, or they didn't, okay? And it's open source. Anybody can use it. So when people say to me, but you don't understand blockchain technology, I'm like, and what does that have to do with the price of cryptocurrencies? It doesn't. In fact, it undermines it, because the fact that there is nothing proprietary, anyone can launch one, exactly. And it just dilutes out the whole thing. And I don't think it's a store of value. I mean, store of value, you can't even keep it with someone stealing it from you. How is it a store of value? Yeah. And by the way, if it was really a store of value, when the stock market crashed, Bitcoin went up, was stabilized like gold. Instead, it went down in lockstep. Okay. And so I just think it's a total sham.
So you don't see a future, say, 5 years down the road where we're paying for groceries with Bitcoin?
No, I see a future was paying for groceries with cryptocurrency.
Okay.
Just not any of the ones you see right now. There'll be government-issued cryptocurrencies. Look at it this way, all right? The world exists as it is in 2017 after 3,000 years of hunger and strife and wars and crusades and everything, with bags of gold being exchanged for peace, right? They finally have it, so they have control of the money supply, and there's these really sophisticated algorithms they use to increase money supply. You control the money supply, you control people, right? Mm-hmm. So now the U.S. government and China, and let's forget it. Let them control the money supply. That in a million years, the governments of the world will never allow the money supply to be back in private hands. So they will. So the better it might be, the more scared they are, they'll shut it down. So I think the governments will regulate it out of business and take the idea for themselves. And I think it's a good thing, because when there's not regulation in financial markets, they run amok. And as you see with Bitcoin, you're about to see even more so the fraud involved, because it's not regulated. It's a very dangerous thing. And so they're isolating it right now. Step 2 is to squash it. That's my strong belief. So I get out now.
So you mentioned the millennial interest, the millennials who hate you because you said this was going to happen. What has caused this hype? I mean, not only millennials, we've got celebrities and these big names pouring their money in.
It's a lack of money. Okay, well, it's a few things. Number one is that you had some terrible, there was this guy out there who I just was discussing, this guy Altshuler, who was constantly advertising on Facebook. Thank God Facebook was smart enough to stop this. There was fraudulent because it was unregulated. You had fraudulent advertising promising people overnight riches with the next Bitcoin. Then this is the next bit. And you saw things that in the stock market would put you in jail. And it was rampant in Bitcoin. They had things like ICOs. They're IPOs. They're just securities. So you have people issuing unregistered securities. So what happened was, for this, because the SEC is so slow to act, because they're numbskulls, I think, okay? They really do, right? And what they allowed is this huge bubble. So on the way up, all this money was made by just simply a Ponzi scheme. And you had social media fueling this, and then you have the millennials who have no experience in financial stuff. They don't know about bubbles. They don't understand fraud, and unfortunately, I understand it all too well. Okay, I'm not proud of that, but I do. They don't understand just how fraudulent this really is, and they're being sold a narrative of like, you know, this is your chance to take money back from the banksters of the world. They've gotten you into debt. And it's this really weird narrative they believe in, that like that their problems, their lack of a future that they perceive to have, even though they have an amazing future if they want to work really hard, is because of the current banking system deprives them of their ability to use money in the right way. You know what? They're still going to borrow on their credit cards no matter what. I mean, it's a joke. So they've gotten to this narrative where a bunch of these kids made a lot of money really early on in a bubble, okay? And it spread like wildfire through social media. And because the SEC did not regulate this thing soon enough, you had just massive fraudulent advertising going on. The ultimate pyramid scheme, get rich quick using these calls. This is the future. Everything's going to cryptocurrency. They were saying things like, I was saying things, Bitcoin's going to $1 million.
Right.
Now, to an unsophisticated kid who's 20 years old, who has,
these
I can go get a job and work hard for 20 years, or I could just become a Bitcoin trader and get rich overnight. And he sees his friends that because they just caught the bubble early, so it's almost too enticing, and I fault the SEC for allowing this to happen. They should have stopped this stuff in its tracks a year ago when they saw ICOs. I wrote something to CNBC. I'm friends with one of the producers there, so he'll vouch for me. I wrote him on last week 11 headlines that were going to happen in the next 30 days. 5 had hit so far. One of them was the SEC was going to regulate every ICO as an IPO. They would make them go through registration. Sure enough, yesterday, now in their infinite idiocy, the SEC, they still gave enough positive sound bites. So you know what's happening today? All the crypto people saying the SEC's behind us.
They're all up today.
Yeah, because the SEC is so stupid, the SEC. They're so stupid, they don't understand that although when they say we're going to regulate cryptos and make them go through registration, that's a death blow to cryptos. They can't go through registration. That means you have to have 10Ks, 10Qs, audits. Okay, so but they don't understand. What they do is they create enough sound bites that they misuse that information. Now it's all over. The SEC's behind us. Cryptos are going to be the future. Even the SEC is saying right now that cryptos are going to be they're going to take over the dollar. They're going to displace everything, and Bitcoin will be $1 million. And here's the irony: if Bitcoin is really a currency, why would it be any better in $1 million or 5? If it was a currency, it doesn't have to go up to be efficacious, to be used as a currency. Why the appreciation? Right. There is no, it's not useful as a currency if it appreciates like that. So it's not a currency. What it is, honestly, it's a gigantic, the guy from the Settlement Bank said it best. It's a combination of a bubble, a Ponzi scheme, and an economic disaster wrapped up into one. And the Chinese are very smart because they just say, you know what, this is bad, it's risky. Whoop, up goes the firewall, game over in China.
Okay.
In one swoop, China cuts it out, right? The U.S. not that smart. We'll allow people to get, farmers in the Midwest, moms and pops are going to get destroyed in this. And you know what? The smart people that are perpetuating the fraud, they're going to sell out at the top and they're going to leave everyone holding the bag.
Right.
It's really sad.
So, I mean, is there a cryptocurrency that's a pump and dump type scheme?
They're all, to me, they're not, okay, so at this point in time, the money's been made in Bitcoin already. It's high up there. You're not going to make money. So if you're in the middle of the crypto game right now, okay, and you're looking to make money, the guys that are really committing the fraud, the only way to do it is you need to issue a new currency at the bottom and ride it up. So what they'll do, but they need to do that to keep issuing new cryptos. They have to keep Bitcoin up high enough so people still believe in cryptocurrency. So they create the illusion of prosperity This is what I did. I'm sad to say. This is what I did at Stratton. You keep the old ones up high enough so people still believe in the overall system, and they launch the next one, and that's where they make their money. So they keep launching new ones because that's how you don't make money on days of Bitcoin making money are over for the scamsters. It's already where's it going to be now? It's 8,000. It can go up to 10, back to 2. I think it's going to 0 pretty quickly. But besides that, the only way to make money is to create a new supply of some new cryptocurrency, and then by keeping the old ones high enough, people will dump even more money into the new ones, and they make their money on that.
Okay.
It's pure fraud, and and I feel so because the millennials, these kids they're not breaking the law. They're not trying to commit fraud. They're being taken for a ride right now, and they've been sold a bill of goods. And I hope that I'm trying to wake a lot of them up right now, and they'll hate me now. They're going to love me in a few months from now. Listen, I told them last week to get out at 15,000, and I got a lot of thank you letters that people did sell when it went down to as low as 6,000, right?
Yes.
And I'm sure that when the crap really hits the fan. In the short, and we'll hit because listen, when Tether's going to get on, it's going to find out that Tether doesn't exist or it's half of it's missing, and it's just going to, and they're going to come in. The FBI's going to swoop in, the SWAT teams. It's going to be really bad stuff, and you're going to find out that it was even worse than I ever imagined because that's how these things are. You have an unregulated market where there's no. It attracts the worst people. So all these millennials, they're lovely. I love them. It's not your fault, but there's a lot of really bad people at the center of this thing that are setting you up, and you're going to get caught holding the bed. They call them hodlers. Hold on for dear life until you want to kill yourself, basically. So,